Hello, welcome to the third online lecture in our 4 weeks on water curriculum. Just as a reminder, my name is Rachel Whitaker and I teach environmental science at White Mountains Community College in Berlin, New Hampshire. We are going to cover two main concepts today. The first is we're going to discuss the scientific process, and the second, we are going to discuss the aspects of a good research question. Okay. Let's start with the scientific process. The scientific process is also known as the scientific method, and it is defined as a series of steps for understanding the natural world based on experimental testing of a hypothesis. A hypothesis is a possible mechanism for how the world functions. The steps for the scientific process are as follows. First, you must identify a problem. Second, you propose a hypothesis for that problem. Third, you make a prediction about what you will get for results if you test that problem. Fourth, you test the prediction with controls, or this is the same step where you would conduct research. And fifth, you interpret the results or draw a conclusion. And then the reason it's a process is typically you start this all over again. Very infrequently does the scientific process start with 1, end with 5, and somebody gets their results exactly what they would like to see. Much more often, researchers will have to go through steps 1 and 2, get to 3, and then they have issues, so they go back to step 2. Sometimes they'll make it from steps 1 to 4, and then they'll have issues with conducting their research or conducting their lab tests, and they'll have to go back to step 2 or 3. And then just as often, they'll make it from steps 1 through 5 and end up with more questions than they had to begin with, and they'll have to go back to steps 1 or 2 and begin the process again. Okay, now let's talk about the aspects of a good research question. So what does make a good research question? Typically, a research question guides and centers your research. It sounds easy, but research questions must be crafted and shaped, and they often do not come easy. The question should be clear and focused and identify what it is that you want to learn. Typically, you have to figure out what your topic is before you identify your question. But in the case of this curriculum, we have already presented you with the topic, which is water. A research question would typically also guide the choice of data to be collected and analyzed. In this case, for this activity, we will be using data that has already been collected, but you must choose which data you will use to address your research question. The research question should be something that you are interested in or care about, because when you pick a topic that you are interested in or care about, your time spent on researching that topic will be much more fun and enjoyable for you. Now, I'm not saying that it won't still be work, but it will be more enjoyable since you have to complete the task. Remember, good research questions are formed and worked on over time. Start with what interests you and refine it until it is workable. The perfect research question does not exist, but there are bad research questions, and quite often bad research questions are too general. They're not specific enough. The following guidelines highlight some of the features of good questions. First, your research question must be relevant to the curriculum. Also, the question must be manageable in terms of research and in terms of your own academic abilities. It must be consistent with requirements of the assignment. It must be clear and simple, and it must be interesting. This now concludes the video lecture number 3 for our curriculum. Please do not hesitate to contact me or your institution professor as part of this curriculum to ask questions.